Why, hello there. It's your girl Elaine coming at you live from your local North Charleston Target at a time that I should be in bed. I've heard that some other English teachers have been recording their voices reading your favorite story, The Castle Diaries of Timothy Burgess. However, I thought I'd mix it up. Let's film it in all over North Charleston. I'll be reading the book to you, you'll be following along, and we're gonna get this done. So all aboard the Lane Train, toot toot. Let's go! Wow. What a cool book. I might take a gander. January 11th, Thursday. I awoke this morning early and had chance to observe the other pages while they slept. Not this kind of page, but a page that's training to be a knight. The one who woke next shared some bread with me. He told me his name was Mark, and he asked mine. As we ate, he pointed at the other sleeping pages and laughed. Ha! See, Toby, Oliver and Humphrey shall have no bread, for they slumber still. That's mean. Soon Simon came to take me to the great hall where my Aunt Elizabeth sat by a huge fire. She welcomed me fondly and told me that my uncle attends the king in the west of the country, but he'll return in a few days. Then my aunt bade me greet my other cousins, Simon's sisters, Abigail and Beth. Abigail is the fairer of face, is younger than I, and her sister is older. When we were introduced, Abigail blushed and looked at me from the tail of her eye. Toby is here to learn the duties of the page, my aunt told him. But this day I would like you to show him our home. Ooh. Then, turning to me, she added on the morrow I would learn what I must do to make myself useful. January 12th, Friday. I find that everyone calls my uncle and aunt my lord and my lady, and I must do likewise. There are so many strange things to learn and do here that today I have time only to write a line or two. I fear my journal will have many gaps in it. January 13th, Saturday. Directly after we had broken our fast yesterday, my aunt summoned me and spoke to me of my duties. Pages here serve my aunt and uncle, and thus learn courtesy and the manners and customs of a noble family. Like the other pages, I am expected to make myself useful by running errands, carrying messages, and such like. At mealtimes, I will learn to serve my aunt and uncle and their guests, to fill their cups and carve their slices of meat, which I will place before them in a genteel way. But as I am her nephew, I am also to be my aunt's personal page, and I must hold myself ready at all times to attend her. Though I thought this an honor, Humphrey, who is the oldest page here, scorned it, saying my aunt will have a sharper eye for most of my errors. Much of this seemed to me to be dull stuff, so I asked my aunt if I might also ride in a hunt. She did not answer, but instead told me of my studies. The castle chaplain is away at present, for he visits with the bishop, but on his return I will join the other pages under his tutelage. With this, my aunt bade me make myself familiar with the many buildings and places within the castle walls, and then dismissed me. I should get out of here, because I think people are coming. Okay, moving on. January 14th, the Lord's Day, Sunday. This noon 'twas my task to serve my aunt at the table, though I fear that through the nervous shaking of my hand, much food fell on the floor that we placed before her. The hall was crowded, for there are many servants here, and it will be some days before I will properly know one from the other. Only 2 of them are women, and one is constantly at my aunt's side. This woman, whose name is Isabel, dresses finely in clothes quite like my aunt's. The other is Isabel's maid. She wears clothes of red and blue, the same colors as the uniforms of many of the men servants. I found it very odd that my aunt's servant should have herself a servant, but when I asked my aunt to explain, she answered me sharply, saying, "Watch your tongue." Though she does my bidding, Isabel is no peasant girl. She is as much a companion of my servant. Like you and many others who serve your uncle and me, she comes from a good family, and is used to soft clothing and being waited upon. Then my aunt said, "Why, even a servant's servants sometimes need servants." And 'twas true, as I soon discovered. The steward, for instance, who seems a prim and fussy man, is the most senior of the servants, and is in charge of I know not how many others. Among those, he instructs the butler, whose duty it is to care for the castle wines and ales. The butler is in turn commands the cellarer, who stores the wine, and even the cellarer has boys to lift the barrels for him. All but the lowest servants eat together in the hall, and we pages sit with them when our serving duties are done. January 15th. I attended my aunt today in the great chamber. This is where my aunt and uncle sleep. But by day, my aunt receives visitors there and instructs the servants in the running of the castle. At home, we call this room the solar, though ours is smaller by far. My aunt is always busy, for it is she who directs the steward in the management of the castle household. She jokes that when my uncle is away, she must do all her own work and also everything he does, except for the shaving. At their own estates, when my aunt told him who I was, he did not smile or speak, but sighed deeply as though I had already wronged him. With him also was the reeve. This man has charge of all the manor, the farms and forests and common lands belonging to the castle. The reeve collects the rents and the taxes which those who dwell in the manor must pay my uncle regularly for their housing and farm, and for other privileges, such as the right to collect firewood in the forest. Glasses are fogging up. January 17th, Wednesday. Today returned my uncle. When I was summoned to greet him, he clapped me firmly on the shoulder and told me that I would make a fine page. I asked him if I could have a horse, much missing my own pony when Chew had taken home, and when I could ride on a hunt, but he laughed and said only, "Patience, lad, thou shalt learn of such things in time." My uncle says I am to study archery and mayhap fighting with a sword, for I shall need these noble skills when I become a squire and learn the craft of knighthood. Knights serve the king and do battle against his foes, but they must be honorable as well as brave, so squires must study the rules of chivalry, which means doing noble deeds and helping and respecting everyone. January 20th, Saturday. This day returned the chaplain to lead our daily worship. It is he who has the task of teaching us pages, as well as writing letters for my aunt when she is busy with her other duties. Now, not only must we rise an hour earlier each morning to attend Mass, but schooling will begin again soon. January 22nd, Monday. This day I spent in schooling with the other pages and with my cousin Abigail and Beth. If we have no other duties, we start our school studies after Mass and breakfast fast, and continue as long as there is daylight enough to read by. Chaplain teaches us Latin from the Scriptures. We also study our letters with him and our numbers. My mother has taught me well in reading and writing in English, and I'm ahead of most, except Beth, who is very studious for a girl. Okay, Tobias. But Latin is new to me, and I must learn many pages of the most dull books. January 23rd, Tuesday. Studying today was no better than yesterday. It seems that most of my days will be taken up like this until my 14th birthday. Then I shall become a squire, if I don't die of boredom first. Mark whispered to me that all schooling everywhere is like this. The chaplain, seeing us speak, did thrash me, but I did not cry out. Later, Mark warned me that chaplain beats us more in the winter. 'Tis surely because the room is cold and whipping warms both his arms and our rumps, said Mark. Clean those windows. Well, thanks for watching through page 20 of Literature with Lane. Tune in on Monday to see where I read this book next. See you later, gang. Toot toot. I'm a YouTuber. Also, look at this. I'm actually wearing pants. The only thing you gotta check out is this book.